School of Arts.
Yes, hello everyone. I will quickly share my screen with you. Okay. So hello everyone, my name is Elien Cruydt, and I will tell you some more about my work, which was a part of my master's degree, which consists of a more group of works that belong together. But from this group, I have selected a few works I will share with you in more detail in a little bit. But first, I want to tell you something more in short about my work, which is the result of the interaction between drawings and textiles and between digital and analog processes. And these drawings are all like a chain reaction caused by a previous one. So they're not references, they're abstract images of their own. And by digitizing the analog and vice versa, I change and transform that image. And then that image undergoes further transformation by scaling it and transforming it into textiles. So basically, by materializing the drawing, I create a flexible object with it, which can now take up a space, relate to it, and have two sides with thickness, weight, structure, and so on. And here some photos of my drawing process. And my analog processes were highly influenced during this pandemic. So I resorted in using even more techniques that are traditionally associated with domesticated crafts. So I could work independently from home when all the workspaces were closed. And in those processes, I've added some personal experimentation. And here on the photos, you can see my hand knotted rugs. So I knotted these both by hand in a technique we call Smyrna here where I live. But because the traditional or typical front side of that technique is already a common side or something we've seen a lot of, I focused myself onto the other side of the technique, which is a more pixelated rendering you get of the drawing. And I played here with positives and negatives of the drawing. So by knotting on both sides of the grid, which you can see in more detail here in the process picture. Displayed here is a hand-woven piece that I made on a TC2 jacquard loom, which again, I play with positives and negatives, and I use two sides of the fabric. So this is a more landscape composition of some various drawings that I've made. And I also work with the positive and negative in the material that I use. So the white is a very soft, delicate wool, and the black is woven with a very rugged, coarse wool. And most of the materials I use come from leftovers from the industry. And with that previous piece, I usually pair this one, which is a pattern that I needle felted onto a hand-woven strip of fabric, so that I not only change the structure of the fabric and the drawing, but also create a further abstraction onto the other side. And here they are both sides next to each other, both of the pieces. And some images from during the process. And the last piece I wanted to show you in more detail is this 3-piece woven banner. So it's an image that I wove onto 3 separate pieces of fabric. And I did this by painting the negative of the drawing onto the white warp on the loom. And by then using a black weft to weave into it, you create some almost like pixels, a half tone where the threads cross each other. So the positive of the image comes through when it's woven. And because it's made up of 3 pieces, you can change the composition depending on the space I want to show it in. So here on the left, it's 2 pieces on above each other and then one next to it. But this can change depending on the space I want to show it in, which allows the image to transform even further by changing its perspective. And here again, some more process images where you can see the technique of the paint on the loom, and then you can see the image continues on the 3 sides. And I will end with another overview of my installation I made for my jury presentation back in June. So thank you all very much for your time and listening. Thank you.
Thank you, Elien. Beautiful presentation.